Hello and welcome to this episode of the Business Spotlight. Today we are joined by Dimple from Purple Beard. Hiya, Dimple.
I'm fine, thank you, Mark. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for joining us. So, for those of you listening or watching this for the first time, what is the Business Spotlight? So, the Business Spotlight is it's a place where we find out a bit more about business and a bit more about Dimple's business today, more specifically. And if you're thinking of getting into business or if you're already on that entrepreneurship journey, then you're in the right place. So, Dimple, if you can kick things off for us, please, by letting the audience know who you are, what you do, and how long you've been doing it for.
Thank you. My name is Dimple, and I'm the CEO of a company called Purple Beard. We work in skills and training, so we support individuals learn technology skills more specifically, and really kind of enter the tech space. Our core focus is diversity, inclusion, and equality. The company's been going for 3.5 years now, so we were almost like a COVID baby. Yeah, so that's what Purple Beard does.
Wow, I like that. A COVID baby. I think that's the first time I've heard that phrase used, but I'm going to nick it from now on.
That's fine. That's fine.
Oh, brilliant. So, Dimple, what would you say then? What would you say makes you stand out from other people doing something similar in your sector?
I think I worked in education for a very long time. So in sort of, training skills, I worked in that space for about 23 years. I've had previous companies that I've, exited quite successfully. And I think it's, my team, but the services we offer, but it's really about that passion about helping individuals kind of learn and get onto their journeys. And we work with a variety of customers. So, it could be somebody who wants to reskill, upskill themselves after working in a job for 15 years, but they decide they want to become a data analyst. So it's really supporting those individuals. And I think that's what makes us different, because we're really committed to working with a really wide group of individuals, get onto that journey of, retraining, upskilling, and understanding technology and kind of getting into more technology-based roles.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Oh, fantastic. Thanks for that share.
Yeah.
So, what would you say I mean, 3.5 years, and I'm still thinking of that phrase you've just used, which was a COVID baby. But how would you describe the journey so far from when you originally set the business up and bring us up to speed to where we are now?
Oh, it's been full of excitement, ups and downs, lows and highs. When I set up the business in end of 2019, but then COVID happened and there wasn't much happening. So it was just really that initial phase. So I remember in 2020, I being the only employee looking at bids and tenders, because I do a lot of work with employers or businesses who want to, get their colleagues skilled in technology areas, but at no cost.
Yeah.
So that's what our primary focus is. We make it really affordable and accessible for businesses as well as individuals. So it was that time when, it was quite sort of scary. And then in 2021, we snowballed where we won a contract. And all of a sudden, I had a team of 6 people working for me.
Wow.
And there was quite a bit of growth, and then we had to kind of course correct as well, because there have been issues in digital skills, sort of in digital jobs really in the last year. So that obviously has an impact, but you have to kind of course correct. And one of the things you have to, as a CEO and as a founder of this business is you have to wake up every morning and say, I'm doing this every day. You have to really motivate yourself, right? It's that internal, even when things are really bad, you've got to just get up and get going and just crack on. And not all days will be alike, but there are some really, really tough days. And you're like, okay, how am I going to manage this cash flow? Because you're your accountant, you're your HR, you're looking at social media, you're doing competitor analysis, you're cleaning the office, you're making your own cup of tea, you're making a cup of tea for all your colleagues as well. So I think you've got to really be able to get your hands dirty, and there's got to be a level of humility and resilience. I think, resilience is like a key skill, because sometimes you don't see the returns straight away. It takes months, years to see that bottom line, that profit. But you've got to be quite committed to keep doing it, and keep sort of saying, no, I'm going to make this work, and I'm going to, create a success out of it.
Yeah, I think that's a really fantastic share, and thank you for being so open. And I think I've made a note of a couple of bits that you've mentioned there, and two things spring to mind. The first one you mentioned about humility with all the different hats that you're wearing and some of the
Yeah.
things having to roll your sleeves up and do certain jobs within the business.
Yeah.
But also, through those tough times, the resilience element, because I think you're right, to run a business is one of the key things that I think mindset is, that resilience that you build running a business. So that's a fantastic share. Thank you very much for that, Dimple.
No problem.
So, I mean, that kind of brings us up to date then. So what would you say moving forwards and looking at, I don't know, the next 12 months, for instance, where's the business going? What are the plans, and what do you think are going to be your main challenges?
So I think, because of, skills are evolving, because again, there's a lot of funding we tap into, and it's really kind of continuing to grow that. So one of the projects we were doing was kind of stopped. And as you can imagine, that left a huge hole in the revenue.
Yeah,
Um, and I think it's really to kind of mitigate risks and continue growing. So right now we are growing month on month, small percentage, but we are growing month on month, which means that we're on a positive trajectory. And one thing I will say, and I think my coaches have said this to me in the past, that cash is king in your business. And you've got to make sure you really manage your money effectively, but also revenue generation. Because if there's no revenue, and this may not apply to all businesses, but whether your services or products, if there's no revenue, that means there is no business. It's as simple as that. So, the focus has to always be on building customer relationships, whether it's new or existing, and ensuring that that pipeline of revenue, you've got to look at it in the future and plan a year ahead and say, okay, this is where I want to be, but how am I going to get there? What resource do I need? And you've also got to be ready to kind of course correct when things are not working. You can't just hold on to one thing and say, no, 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 but this is the plan. And because if you do that, really, you know, I'm not sure what would happen. So you've got to be able to kind of course correct and say, all right, this is not working. Let me see what else could work, and be quite be able to sort of look at things and think on your feet, really.
yeah. Yeah, I think that's some really sound advice. And you know, clearly I know we had the conversation just before, and you mentioned that you've worked with some coaches, and it's really refreshing to hear you say about cash being king. I mean, obviously, looking at your balance sheets, looking at your P&L,
Yeah.
obviously all of that stuff is important, because it's how you run your business. But having that cash flow forecast and understanding that cash is king, which you're right, because to grow a business, I mean, some businesses don't even realize that they're just growing broke. So to hear that is fantastic. So thanks for that great share, Dimple. That's really, really good. A great
No,
insight as well.
thank you.
So, I mean, moving on to yourself then, as the business owner, what would you say has been, and I know it's probably difficult to narrow it down to just one, but what would you say that really springs to mind, one of the biggest lessons that you've had today that really stands out for you?
You have to delegate, and you can't be. Yes, you can be a control freak, but if you are, then you're not going to grow the business. So you've got to learn how to build a really sound team. And I've done this a few times in my life, and historically where I failed, and somebody would say, you haven't failed, you made a successful exit. And I'm like, not really, because I didn't really grow a team as well as I could have. And that's mainly because of my own um, control issues. And you've got to learn how to delegate. And wait, there are some things you just have to say, fine, deal with it. And if there's a problem, reach out. And that's something this business, Purple Beard especially, had to teach me, because we grew very quickly. I had no choice. I had to, because I was working 19, 20 hours some days, and I just did not have enough hours, because at the scale we were growing, it just wasn't possible. So I had to learn how to delegate very quickly and sort of build my team to kind of take on some of those responsibilities where, I didn't have to do the spreadsheet because somebody else could do it and submit it. I really wasn't, so I think that's one thing that, business owners, we look at our businesses like our own children.
Yeah.
And sometimes you have to step away and say no. but let me go in because I need to focus on what is most strategic for my business. So it's that customers, that sales, that marketing, that piece becomes you have to drive that. And you've got to learn how to delegate things that really are not relevant or as valuable. So really from a more strategic perspective. That's something I've learned a lot, since I've worked with the coach, but as well as with Purple Beard, it's really kind of taught me. I'm still not 100%. I think if I'm 50%, that's great. But sometimes I just have to say, all right, fine, just get on with it. No problem.
Yeah, I think that's it's a really great share again. And I think for me, working with a lot of business owners, it's been probably one of the challenges that I found for business owners. And because a lot of business owners, we set businesses up, don't we? Because we want to run a business, we want to be in control, we want to be at the spearhead of the organization. So to get to a business where you've grown the business to a point where, clearly working 15 or even 20 hours a day, it's just not sustainable. So therefore you have to start delegating. And it's a very, or at least it can be a very difficult skill for business owners to learn. So the fact that you've said, even that you're happy with how much you can delegate now, but even to openly admit that you're 50% of the way there. But the fact that you're delegating though, Dimple, is fantastic. So great share.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so we're gonna go back in time now, Dimple. We're gonna go back in time and we're gonna go and visit an 18-year-old Dimple. Okay. So you and we're gonna have the conversation, or at least you're gonna have the conversation. I'm just driving the time machine, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you get to give yourself one piece of advice, one golden nugget. What would it be?
I think, don't be afraid to take risks and believe in yourself.
Yeah, I like that.
So I think that's what I would have told myself. And I think mainly that belief in yourself, because I think a lot of the times, I speak to a lot of friends who are also entrepreneurs, and there is this imposter syndrome that most of us suffer from.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's like you have to believe in what you do. And I think the proof is in the pudding because you do it, right? And yes, sometimes you will fail. In fact, you fail every day.
Yeah.
And one must not, and when we look at failures, it's not necessarily your business going under, but you will fail every day. You will fail, but you just have to kind of get up and say, all right, I'll do it better, and tomorrow I'll learn something from this. You can't take it very personally. You just have to sort of say, okay, got to roll with the punches, eh?
Yeah. I think that's really sound advice. And I think, just that belief that, and you mentioned imposter syndrome as well, and it's quite a common thing again that I hear over and over. So yeah, it'd be nice if we had that time machine and we could go back in time and you'd be able to give yourself that piece of advice. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
Okay, Dimple. So you're clearly very passionate about what you do. Just having this conversation with you on the podcast today, but what is it that really fires you up, that makes you do what you do day in, day out, and then really inspires you to do and go further each day, each week?
I want to build. So I want to build. And I think I want to see my business succeed. I want to see the people I work with succeed as part of it. But also, the businesses we support, the individuals we support. And I think that really kind of it keeps me going because I want to help. I genuinely want to help business owners, support them with some of the issues that we, as business owners struggle with, some of the problems we struggle with, that, use skills, use some of the funding. Let's get people skilled in your business. Let's get you skilled in your business. Let's get in the right people who have the right skills to support your business grow. So I think that really kind of keeps me going. I quite like education. I quite like learning. And I think because I was a university dropout, so if I had to learn a different way,
Yeah.
And that's fine because, you know, traditional universities may not be for everybody, but I still have the level of skills that, and I could have learned those skills much quicker, you know, had I have made different choices. Yeah. But I think it's that's what it's really kind of helping businesses and helping individuals kind of get onto that where they want to be in terms of their careers, businesses getting where they want to be in terms of, you know, having the right team to support the growth of the business.
Yeah, that's a fantastic insight there. And I think just in summary, I mean, you know, that thirst for learning, but also that sense of helping others achieve, and
Mm,
that sense of purpose, if you like, is a
mm.
great philosophy to have. So there's a good couple of things in there that would be great for our viewers and our listeners. So another great share. Thank you, Dimple. So, I mean, we're going to start wrapping things up now, but people are going to want to find out more about you, Dimple. They're definitely going to want to find out more about your business. So, what's going to be the best way for them to do that? Like your website, or, you know, for them to connect with you on, I don't know, LinkedIn or something
Yeah,
similar?
yeah. I mean, if they connect with me on LinkedIn, it's Dimple Khagram. I'm sure there aren't many Dimple Khagrams on LinkedIn. I think I was the only one on my last count. So yes, LinkedIn is great, but also if they wanted to kind of go onto our website, it's www.purplebeard.co.uk. Yeah, and you know, they can send us an email or connect with me on LinkedIn, and I'm more than happy to kind of, you know, speak to them, support them. Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, Dimple, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the spotlight today. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mark. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. And everybody listening and watching, thank you very much. That is another episode of the Business Spotlight. Take care. We'll see you all again soon.